in my life that I care about and love. But wait, maybe I'm getting too emotional. That's exactly what they say you ain't supposed to do. Suppress your feelings, never talk about your pain. Can't appreciate the sun without acknowledging it rains, right? That's right. So this a moment of clarity. And make sure you always protect your energy. You stay focused and your life gon' be lit. And you are now rocking with Celeste, the therapist. Let's go.
Yo, hi. Oh no, am I slow? Okay, I'm not. Feels a little delayed. Wait, okay, it's not delayed anymore. All right. Hi. Hi, beautiful people. So if you are watching me on the replay, thank you so much for watching me. I appreciate you. My name is Celeste, and I am a therapist from Boston. I come on, I talk to people who are doing things to empower the lives of others through sharing their story. I also really enjoy talking about relationships. I feel like so many of us struggle in relationships because we have our own struggles. Hey, Miss P Love. We have our own struggles and we don't understand how to get out of it. So right now I'm streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope, but Periscope is about to be done actually. I don't know how that's gonna work if it's gonna let me do Twitter. So I'm streaming right now on all four of those platforms. So if you want to follow me if you're following me on YouTube or watching me on YouTube, make sure you like this video, make sure you subscribe. Follow me on the PEP. If you follow me on the PEP, you will know when I post. And anything I post around mental health, the goal behind it is to just help you shift the way you think. So that's the goal. Follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook. Also, I have a community called Shifting the Way You Think, and the goal behind it is to create life changes that's going to stick. I really think that a lot of times we don't understand the things that we need to do to get ourselves to a different place. And it takes like small increments. And so like I created this 3-month community so that people can work on shifting the way they think. So I'm going to bring on my co-host for relationships. And we are going to answer some questions. But before we start, I'm going to have him introduce himself to you all.
What's up? It's me, Jeff. Thank you for having me, Celeste.
Jeff, who? Like, what do you do? You're just Jeff?
What do I do? Oh, I'm just Jeff. I'm Jeff. I'm a trainer, facilitator, executive coach. And, well, the main thing, I'm somebody that likes to help people examine their own problems in their lives. And so when Celeste offered the opportunity to come on here with someone as illustrious as herself, I can resist, and thus today I am before you.
When did you realize that you enjoyed talking to people about their problems and helping them solve it? Like, you must have gotten in trouble in school a lot because.
Oh, I definitely got in trouble in school a lot. So my nickname, growing up, my nickname was the Professor because I'm somebody who thinks they know the explanation for a lot of things. So they would say, "Oh, well," they'd say, "Well, watch out, you stepped on a bug," and I say, "Well, an insect." I say, "Actually, a spider is an arachnid," and they say, "Oh, well, Professor." So that's why that's my nickname. And I did get in trouble in school a lot. You know, a real talk. When I was like maybe 8. I had a babysitter that was probably 15, this girl, and she started talking to me about her boy problems. And I would sit there at 8 and reflect upon her boy problems all the time, thinking, if you should drop that 0 and get with this hero. I had a crush on her. But I would hear about all of her boy problems, which was she was making moves, and I'm 8. But I'm just thinking to myself, this is going in the memory banks for later. And it did.
Oh, thank you for being here.
Years. That is where it started. Thank you, Celeste. Look at that. You're already bringing out my memories. That's why you're a Celeste therapist.
It's kind of what I do, you know. I have people opening up. You didn't even know you were supposed to be opening up to me.
I didn't even know that, and
All right. So if you don't know, in this segment, we get questions from the audience. If you're watching live, you can definitely ask your question. But we do have a couple of questions that was given to us. And so I've seen the questions. Jeff have not seen the questions, but he's so dope. He doesn't need to see the questions before because of the way his brain works.
Well, let's see. Let's see.
I'm gonna put it. Let me see. I'm gonna put it here, and then I'm gonna show it on the screen. There it goes. So the question is for my listeners. Oh wait, did it put it in segments? Hold on, let me see. Okay. I have been in a relationship for 8 years, and the first 3 years was a situationship. We are both working on our communication skills. I am 29, he is 41. He has 3 children and a vasectomy. I really want kids soon. We talked about it in the past, and he said he did not want any kids. His oldest is 16, and I really don't care. I just want a child. How should I bring it up to him?
Leave that up and written as long as possible. So let's examine this real quick. Can we do that? Okay, I've been in a relationship for 8 years, so I've known this person for 8 years.
So 21, right? Do we know ourselves at 21? Do we know what we really want?
I don't know. When I was 21 and he was 33. Okay. Life is that's perfectly legal. First 3 years was a situationship. We don't have to unpack that, but certainly that means it was not it was complicated for the first few years. We're both working on our communication skills. Okay. He has 3 children. So he has 3 children. So he knows all about what it's like to have kids. He's not like afraid to be a dad. And he has a vasectomy. He's had his vas deferens, the tube that transmits sperm from his testicles out into this woman, has been severed permanently. It has been severed. Okay. And he's 41 years old. Okay. So he has that. This younger woman, I want kids soon. We talked about it in the past, and he said he did not want any kids. He said that to me. Also, the vasectomy probably said it to her. It climbed out and said, I can't do it because I have been severed. Vasectomies are reversible, but it doesn't always work, and it can be very expensive. His oldest is 16. Right? His oldest is 16. I really don't care. I just want a child. How should I bring it up to him? Well, it seems to me, Celeste, you tell me if I'm reading this wrong. Seems to me like she brought it up to him before. True?
Facts.
That's what I'm reading.
Facts on facts.
Right? And it seems to me that when she did, he gave a pretty firm answer. Even she wrote it. He said he did not want any kids. She wrote that. That's her interpretation of what he said. Also, he went and got a elective surgery. He let someone cut open his penis. That's what that man did. That's what he.
Sorry, but I got to play devil's advocate. It does say we talked about it in the past, so that leads me to believe that maybe it was talked about in the past, but it has not been brought back up.
That's true, because this man appears to have made some fairly final decisions. Right? Now, that being said, a vasectomy is reversible. Well, in some cases, it's reversible at great expense, and it doesn't always work. It's not 100% thing. He's also 41. Although men aren't women, meaning men can reproduce into a late age, it does become harder. Sperm counts go down.
How could you reverse it? How is it reversible?
They cut it open, and so again, it's a tube. They cut the tube in half and just separate them. They can cut it open and try to sew them back together, but it's cost way more. A vasectomy is cheap. Reversing a vasectomy costs many thousands of dollars and doesn't always work. I think there's also surgery they do where they can cut open your testicles and extract the sperm that way, because your body still makes it. It just has no way to get out. But now we're talking about cutting open a guy's balls. So it's not just, hey, can you come in me tonight? It's, can they cut open your balls? Which is, you see how that's like a high bar, right?
If you put it like that, I guess it's a lot. That's a lot to ask for.
It's a lot to ask for. But moreover, it's not like he's neutral. It's not like he said, sometimes I do. Sometimes, baby, sometimes I look at you and I think I want to have kids. And sometimes I think I'm a little old. That's actually not what this man has said. So now we get to the one phrase that I skipped. We're both working on our communication skills. Well, there's 2 parts of communication, right? There's transmitting what you think. There's also receiving what someone else thinks. You agree with that, Celeste?
Absolutely, yes.
So if I didn't want kids, how much more clear could I be than to sever my testicles from my penis and tell you to your face I don't want kids. What more could I do? What would the other step that I would do to make it more clear?
I mean, when you put it like that, I think that it's pretty clear. I think sometimes our partner may say something, but we really may not hear them. I just want to get some of the audience weigh in on this. Aviana says he already told you what he doesn't want. If that's a deal breaker for you, walk away. Mimi says, don't bring it up anymore. It's obvious he's not the one. She needs to move on. Janice says she needs to leave him and move on, period. This shouldn't be a long discussion. Yes, I agree. I don't know about that one.
No, that is not fair.
I don't know about that one. I can't agree with that one.
Now, maybe I want to think about this. If he's absolutely clear this whole time, right? Then, and she accepted his answer. She didn't break the deal then. Instead, she writes into the internet and asks people how to change his mind. Who was leading who on? Who was leading who to believe they think one thing, but in fact, they think another? Something to think about.
Yes, but when it was discussed, he said he didn't want kids and he had the surgery to prove it. I hate to jump the gun, but they seem to be in two different places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that's what I'll say too. So I'm not going as far as to say, woman who wrote this, you should leave. I'm not going that far. You have thinking to do. Somebody said it, which is if that's a deal breaker for you, you should leave. Okay. Now there's other compromises that can be made. I'm just giving examples. Sperm donors or what's the word I'm looking for here? Oh, adoption, right? Or if you say, listen, this guy is the guy. I love him with all my heart. If he's not the daddy, then I don't want anyone to be the daddy. If that was what you said. But then you need his consent, don't you? In this case specifically, he got the vasectomy, so you really need his consent, right? As opposed to what some people do. Like, baby, don't worry about it tonight. Tonight, I took my pills. You can trust me. And then they didn't. Instead, this dude, he made it so that this basically cannot happen. And you need to decide, letter writer, if it's more important to you to have this guy or have the kid. Now, I'll say you could pass up kids and still break up with this guy. Like that could happen in life. You know what I mean? But you could also have kids and say, well, this didn't fulfill me. So in the end, you have a true tough call to make, but it almost has nothing to do with this dude.
This is a really good example, I think, on how how relationships get complicated because, you have two different people wanting two different things. And I think that the answer is pretty clear on what needs to happen because the one party has been very clear. The other one still wants what they want. And then trying to figure out how to make something happen after being told explicitly that's your word, right? I be using that word now because you be using it all the time.
There you go. But how more explicit can you be?
It was very explicit.
I'm going to the hospital. They're going to cut my nuts open and burn and cauterize the inside. Then I'll be back. Okay, I'm doing that because I don't want children. I'll see you in 2 days. You go do that. Then someone says, but how can I make him have kids with me?
Yes,
what are the magic words to change this guy? You know how scary it is to let someone take a scalpel to your shaft? This dude did that.
Yeah.
So I think he decided. So that being
and
said,
8 years is a long time. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, 8 years is a long time. That's true. I don't know if it's that they had the conversation at the beginning of the 8 years. There's no before you leave. Instead of just you come home one day. I'm sorry, he comes home one day, and all your stuff's gone. Your side of the closet's empty. You don't have to do that. You can say, hey, listen, when I was 21, I couldn't imagine having kids because I was in that stage of my life. And, you were young and I'm going to clubs and I had this older guy who's you, but, I was being young. But now I'm 29 years old and the joy you have with your 16-year-old, and I want that. And although I love your 16-year-old, I want to have a baby. I do. I want to know what it's like to be a mother. I realized that what you said earlier, I realized that might be where you stand, but this is where I stand now. I can't predict the future. And so if we can't have a kid, then even though I love you, I'll have to move on because it's so important to me.
Yeah, and Monica, I'm gonna answer your question. And I think that not that this was written in, but I think this goes to another issue on how people tend to stay in relationships, even though they're not completely like this is something like if this is a deal breaker where kids is a part of what you want out of life, there's really no way around it. It may hurt or be hard. But the longer you stay, the longer you feel like you're wasting your time and you don't want to start over. And I think not that I know, but I'm thinking this is why this person may have stayed as long. It's because they feel like they've already invested a lot of time and energy and don't really want to start over, but not starting over leaves you with the short end of the stick, right?
Have we talked about that before, Celeste? The sunk cost fallacy? Have we mentioned that before?
No, say that one more time.
The sunk cost fallacy. So
No.
this is,
Mm-mm.
so I'll give you an example. The United States went to the Vietnam War, and a couple years into it, it was obvious we could not win. Could not. Not just we were down. America was not going to win the Vietnam War. But 3 different presidents refused to pull out of it. And there's a simple reason. Each president said some mix of, I don't want to be the president that lost this war. And if we pull out of the war, then all of the soldiers we lost died for nothing. Right? If I pull out of this war, then it all was for nothing. And that is a fallacy. That's fallacious thinking. It's foolish to say, listen, I've been playing the slot machine for hours and I've been losing money. But if I stop now, then all that money I lost is for nothing. I have to play until I win. Wrong. That's incorrect. That sometimes people call that throwing good money after bad, right? Instead, what you got to do is cut your losses, right? You just say, look, this didn't work out. I thought when I was 22, I didn't want kids. Now I'm 29 and I do. He hasn't betrayed me because he refuses to have kids. He's actually been very consistent, but it's easier for him to be consistent. He's been a grown-ass man this whole time. I was 21, right? So I'm sympathetic to the fact that she's changing up. She's different at 29 than 21. Well, no shit. She almost certainly didn't have her career. She almost certainly hadn't had a bunch of serious boyfriends. At 21, she was closer. He was already a grown man with kids, and she was closer to high school than she was to being an adult, to being the kind of adult that decides their future of their life. So cut your losses. If again, this is not me, because I'm not judging the guy or judging you, madam that did this. It's cut your losses in terms of the idea that you've been with him for 8 years has no bearing on whether you want kids next year or not. If you say, I can't live without Derek, then stay with Derek. If you say, I can't live without being a mom, then leave Derek. The idea that you're going to blend the kid and Derek, I think that cannot happen unless you are a surgeon.
Agreed. I have a few questions coming in. This one says, I have 2 questions. Has the percentage of relationship plummeted due to social media? And is hookup culture becoming the next norm? Was it ever not a norm? Was it something?
I think so it's both. We have this idea of the past as being like puritanical, that in the past, that your grandma and grandpa, they courted and he put his coat down over a puddle and all that. But some of that is because grandma doesn't tell you that she was sucking something in the back of a car, because why is grandma going to tell you that? You see what I'm saying? But she was. People was doing that. You see what I'm saying? Like they were. But things become more or less permitted in a culture. There are more or less kind of social mores that do exist. So we have become more, the words like libertine. We've become more sexually free, right? Nicki Minaj, we can't transport Nicki Minaj back to the 50s and put her on TV. That is true. There can be no WAP in the 70s. That is true. But overall, the birth rate has actually stayed very constant and actually gone down a little bit. Okay. Teenagers are losing their virginity later now than they were 10 years ago. So the teens of today are losing their virginity later than the teens of when Celeste and I were teenagers.
Oh, you think that's due to like more sex education?
There's sex education there, but one thing is actually kids don't have to hang out in person anymore. So what used to happen is if I liked a girl, we would be sitting knee to knee watching BET, and then suddenly hormones take over. And
Video
now
the videos back in the day.
right, you're just trying to get. I'm hoping for. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm trying to make something happen. I'm just trying to get the girl in the room. But now it's a little different because people literally hang out on Fortnite or whatever it is. They're literally together less, and the kids are like helicopter parented more. They're a lot less free than we were. Parents know where the kids are. Parents GPS track their kids. They can call you at any minute. The idea that you're disappearing into the world for 3 hours is not realistic. You're a 16-year-old girl, you try to go over to your boyfriend's house, your mother could FaceTime you at any time, and you'll be in super trouble if you try to act like, I didn't hear it. You sound crazy. So all those reasons have pushed it downward so much. And then for adults, because everything starts later. You see what I'm saying? If you lose your virginity later, then you get your first regular sex partner later, and you have your first real boyfriend later, and you get married later. Everything later. Adolescence has been stretched, and so that's less time to kind of get together. And then in terms of hooking up, a few things have accelerated that. Tinder is it's how do I put it? It's an efficient market. Just like how it used to be hard to collect baseball cards, but now you could go on eBay and collect them. It used to be hard to collect hot dudes with 6-packs, but now you can go on Tinder and collect them. Right?
You're right.
And so it did get a little more efficient. It did get a little more efficient in that way. So if you are in the minority frankly, dudes have always been in the market for ideally, let's do this right away. First night, first day I meet you. That's basically a male approach for many men. But if you're a woman that has that approach, it's now never been easier to do that. And so I think that's a little bit true.
Mm-hmm.
So then the last thing is then the relationships, you go, okay, so has the success or the amount of relationships plummeted due to social media? Probably somewhat, in that there used to be like a proximity boost, right? Like if a girl lived on your street, you had a lot better chance of getting with her because, I mean, there's somebody better than me somewhere, but he don't live on the street. He ain't live in this building. So you're going to get with, if we both live in the projects, I got a big advantage, home court advantage. And the less that advantage is, the more people play the field because they know, I think there might be somebody better than you somewhere. You know what I mean? And so like the temptation, Instagram and all that makes it harder to commit because it's globalization. It's the same thing about jobs, right? Before your favorite therapist would have to live near you, but now people are watching Celeste the therapist from all over the world. That wasn't possible not that long ago. In the same way, before you had to date near you. Now you get to just say, I want someone 6'2" who does this and does that. And it's never been easier to identify them. Therefore, people feel like a sucker settling for someone who's only 6'1".
And it's harder to identify it. I didn't know that dude that allegedly shot Megan was 5'2". Thought he was tall. But side note.
Well, he's a millionaire. He hits and stuff. That's how you do that. Even though Meg could obviously dunk, he needed a gun because he's with a girl that could dunk on him, but whatever.
But another thing about social media is that there's these false reels of what relationships look like. So I think that's another reason why we've allowed it to kind of plummet it, is because we are looking at a lot of highlighted reels and, on social media, then looking at our partner, like, why you didn't do that? Why you didn't do that for me? Not recognizing that it's a highlighted reel.
That couldn't be, Celeste, I'm so glad you mentioned that. You couldn't be more accurate. Image crafting, they call that, right? People have the ability to craft. So, here's the truth. People take a picture and say, oh, woke up like this. I dare you to show me your role and show me that that's the first picture you took. You might have woke up like this and took 22 pictures until it came out just right, right? More women know the poses you'll see on social media. Women do certain poses. Women with big boobs take pictures from above. Women with big butts take a side pic so we can see the hump, right? And dudes are not exempt. Dudes, if a dude has good sneakers, he'd take a picture in a way that you can see his feet. And if he has a car, oh, what a shock, he takes a picture in the driver's seat or sitting on the hood. And if whatever he does, his pictures highlight like what's special about him. And people are crafting their images. The idea that people are photoshopping their pictures. I'm going to meet you one day. I'm going to meet you. So it's crazy to me that you're altering your appearance. But people do it because it's irresistible. Why wouldn't I want to look better and therefore, be marketable? When McDonald's when they show you the Big Mac in the commercial, it don't look like the Big Mac you get.
I wonder how does that work when you do crack. I guess you find out when you meet up.
You find out, it's like, well, people think, they think like I just sprinkled it a little, just a little sprinkle, and then you see it and you go, no, that wasn't a sprinkle. You gave yourself 2 cup sizes and big, beautiful eyes and smooth skin and all these things that, ma'am, you do not have.
So I also believe in the case their age, also the question from earlier, plays a factor. He's done with kids. It seems, speaking of age, is there a limit to age differences and still be considered healthy? What is so funny? Let me finish this question.
Her last sentence is funny.
Oh, let me do it again, because now I'm thinking about the editing. Okay. Is there a limit to age difference and still be considered healthy? Can a 43-year-old woman have a healthy relationship with a 31-year-old man?
Asking for myself. That's funny. That's really funny. And that's funny because as far as you know, Janice, I'm 31, and that's what we're gonna go with. But I dye a few grays into my beard for just for a little gravitas. What do you think, Celeste? Can a 43-year-old woman have a healthy relationship with a 31-year-old man?
I mean, I don't see why not. I honestly, I don't see why not. I think that by the age of 31, the thing is I think with men, a lot of men, they don't typically know what they want or are ready to settle down until. Oh wait, no, she said 31. I mean, they can, but depending on what you're looking for in that relationship, not sure you would get it with the 31-year-old male.
Women are one of the most a human universal is that when I say human universal, just to be clear, on a population level, these trends follow in the whole earth, meaning every society operates this way. That doesn't mean every individual does. Okay, so a human universal is that women prefer men to be a little bit older than them, on average about 3 years. That doesn't mean individually they can't vary, but that's why everywhere you look, that seems to be the trend. And that's why we think it's kind of weird. Even when you write that, it'd be weird. A 43-year-old woman shows up with a 30-year-old guy, you'd be like, huh? But it's not, it's not molesting or anything, but it's just like, it'll be a constant feature of weirdness. Whereas in the other direction, that other couple we just heard about, although 21 and 33 in that case, it's not probably ideal if you're that girl's mother, but it's common. You're gonna know more of those in your life, because on a population level, what women want out of men are things like success and security, which when you're 43, a 31-year-old success and security is probably not comparable to yours. Whereas in the other direction, if the man is 43 and the woman is 31, the man actually has kind of a success advantage because he's so much older. He's had 12 more years to get it popping. Again, this is not everyone. This is population level. So that being said, I agree with Celeste that it can be, I think a 43-year-old woman can have a healthy relationship with a 31-year-old man. I think that can happen, but it runs the same risk, which is you've had 12 more years. Maybe you have a child, or maybe you always knew you didn't want kids, but a 31-year-old man, many men will just be settling into, maybe I do want to be a dad and have a little junior and blah, blah, blah. And if you're 43, it is unlikely, though not impossible, that you'll be able to do it. They call any pregnancy after 35 a geriatric pregnancy. I know women cringe at that, but that's what OBs call it, a geriatric pregnancy. By 43, it is not likely that you'll easily be able to conceive. So, for example, if this 31-year-old very reasonably said he wanted to have a kid, you might not be able to do it. Right? And then there'll also be the time when he's 38 and you're 50. So it can happen though, but it's one of those things, like you got to be going in the same direction the whole time. If at any point, age or no age, if someone wants to make a big change, either the other person has to be happy to make that change with them, or they have to say, I'm not doing that, so see you later. So that's why these big difference relationships are unlikely, because if you're really different in age or in career or whatever it is, it's the more chance that something's going to happen that's going to split you.
I agree. Let me put up the next question that was written in. I'm just waiting for it to load up. All right. How can I talk to my husband of 5 years about intimacy? We only have sex. We do not kiss or touch, and it feels like we are roommates. The quarantine has allowed us to be together more, but it does not feel like we are really together.
Celeste, what do you think about this? You want to take this one first, or you want me to go?
So intimacy could mean different things for different people. And I think that a lot of times people have dialogue in their head about what they're not getting or what they want. And so the other person, may not know. And I think that intimacy for a partner could be just sitting on the couch watching a movie while the other person may want a little bit more. And I think, with the quarantine, maybe there was an assumption that because we're in the house together, we would be under each other more. But maybe the other partner needs space because what everybody needs is going to look different. And so maybe sex feels like it's intimacy for the partner and everything else seems irrelevant. And so without that conversation, having it in your head doesn't work. And I think the more we get in our head about an idea, the more it tends to grow and the more it becomes real. Like it becomes real. Like you're not telling me he does not want to create intimacy with me. And then it brings the relationship further apart. So without that dialogue, you're gonna find yourself feeling alone in a relationship, in your marriage. Yeah, 5 years.
Yeah, I think that's all very valid, right? I think sometimes, obviously we can, when we just see these written questions, we don't have all the information. So there's two things that popped into my head. It could be that y'all never, you never were a kissy couple. You always were just sexed, and then after that, high fives. Could be. Or it could be, I'm almost more reading it, but I could be wrong about this, that the kissing and stuff has died down. So once upon a time, there was more kissing and touching. And now it's sex and then back to what we were doing. So either one, though, but the one thing I'll say is if it used to be different, that's, then that's really something to address, that you can address. If it always was this way and you've slowly grown dissatisfied with it, that'll be a little bit harder to change because you're the one seeking a change. Basically, whoever is, whatever y'all were doing, whatever the default of what y'all were doing, whoever deviates from that has the tougher hill to climb. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense.
Right. If you both agreed not to eat chicken, and then one of you wants to eat chicken, that's different than if we used to have chicken, now we never do. That being said, both of them can be addressed the same way. So people will tell you to communicate, and I do think you can communicate, but you can be tactful, and this is what I mean. Instead of saying, you never kiss me anymore. You used to kiss me and now you don't. Or I'm not satisfied. I don't just like sex, I like kissing. Instead, something you can try before you bring it to that would be to say, I love when you kiss me. Do you know what a great kisser you are? Sometimes I think about your lips. I look at your lips, I see that, I just go, I got to kiss this man. Can I just, if I'm just sitting there and I see you, and in your head, and I know you brushed your teeth today, can I just, I'm just going to kiss you because you're my husband. I realize that kissing you is my favorite thing. Gas it up. Right?
Oh, you're saying just the action, try to do the action first.
Say it. Well, say what I'm saying, which is, my God, I've never kissed a man that could kiss like you. Or once I kissed you, I knew I never wanted to kiss a man again. Whatever the thing that you say that makes him proud of his kissing, want to display his kissing, knowing that that's what you really like and value. But whatever, I'm just saying kissing, but whatever it is. Right? Does that make sense? Because that subverts defensiveness. Instead, it's a compliment. Think about if Celeste, your husband.
That's really good.
Your husband walks in and he sees you, goes, "Oh, she's wearing that pink. Oh, girl, when I see you in that pink sweater, I just can't keep my hands off you."
Word.
Then I'm gonna break out the pink sweater. He goes, "When we going out tonight?" You go, "Oh, let me wear that pink. I know Daddy likes the pink." You see them? You see how you can be managed? Now, really, you don't know if he goes, if she wears that ratty white sweater one more time, I'm gonna vomit. He might put that in his mind. He might. But saying that just makes you, oh my God, I disgust you when I wear white. I don't want you to feel defensive. So I just tell you, yo, I love, oh my God, girl, you pull her in close. Look at that pink sweater. Mm. You know who used to do it really good? On Martin. I always felt like Martin and Gina. Martin did such a good job of gassing Gina up. He's not a good boyfriend overall. But that one aspect of that show, if you do that to your husband and you go, you know what, Daddy? Sometimes I lay there and I think about just the way when you touch me. Sometimes just you touching me turns me on. I mean, I like sex and all that, but the way you touch me, I can't get enough, and I can't wait to suck on you once you touch me. You're telling him what you want in a way that he thinks he thought of it. Like, ooh, yeah. I'm gonna tuck that away in the old memory banks. And if that doesn't work, and he goes, well, sometimes I do, and he's not hearing it. Then the next step is not the same conversation. After 2 weeks of this, if it doesn't change anything, then you switch over to, I want to kiss you, but it feels like, we haven't been kissing and I miss that. Or we don't do that and that's something that I like. And you be more direct because you have to. But we're trying to subvert the defensiveness, which inevitably, the reason why you're asking this question, because I bring this up and it's got a good chance of making him be defensive. He's gonna go, oh yeah, well you don't cook dinner, and then you're fighting, right? You try to start with because men very rarely get guidance and very rarely get compliments. I know, again, population level, if a girl says, oh my God, that guy is so sexy, he might have actually never heard that before, just never heard those words. That's not what it's like to be a dude. Women can go out and people will ogle you and want to talk to you. That's not what it's like to be a dude. So we're actually very manageable with compliments because of that. A woman tells me when you do your hair like that, I know every time I see her, I'm gonna, gotta get one more.
Another thing that could be happening too is there could be some, struggle going on with being in quarantine as far as like mental health, where maybe, especially if it's something that started before, like there was more intimacy before and it's not, it could just mean like, a little bit of depression or worry. And I think a lot of times sex can be a coping mechanism for people where J. Cole has a line in his song, Sex Be Healing That Shit. And maybe it's something that they're still able to do, but maybe struggling in other areas. What do you think about that?
I mean, definitely, right? And, after a while, you become familiar with each other. Everyone, has this in both directions. When you first get with somebody, you're on your P's and Q's. And after a while, you just go, look, I know what you like. 2 twists and a slap. And you know what I like. You jerk it to the left, you jerk it to the right. It's over. So everyone knows. So then you just start doing the greatest hits to each other. And you don't introduce no variety. And then before you know it, you're just in a rut. Even though you're servicing each other, but you're doing it like an oil change instead of each time. And that's why a new person's so exciting, getting to know somebody. I mean, literally getting to know them intimately, getting to know what they like, discovering stuff. And so sometimes you gotta like be intentional about that stuff, because 5 years, the phrase 7-year itch, there does seem to be some, God, I'm not trying to make you extra worried person who asked this, but there does seem to be a correlation between maybe every 5 to 7 years, people need to like re-fall in love. Meaning they call it the 7-year itch because people very often break up after 5, 6, 7 years. If you've been married for 5 years, it's easy to imagine that you've been together for 7 years. Well, and so go ahead.
The whole love thing, I think that there's this, false narrative on what love is. I think people tend to think of love as a feeling. I don't feel the love anymore. But as we grow older and together, we're going to change. And if we're not changing and evolving together, then of course you're not going to, feel the same way. And I think you can fall in love over and over again if you're intentional about your relationship. But I think the film industry has done us a disservice with thinking that, you just get together and then everything's fine. It doesn't talk about what happens in between, right? Like even, the Cosbys, most of us grew up on those kind of shows, Family Matters, Fresh Prince. I think that there's a problem and it's solved in in 30-minute segment. And that's just not how it works in real life. And I think a lot of us have, unfortunately, not understand like kind of the fundamentals of love.
Yeah, I think that's very true. Right. When I say fall in love again, just the idea of like the opposite. So I guess I'm saying the opposite of taking each other for granted is realizing how much this person satisfies you and what you like about him. And in this case, you're saying, well, I'd be satisfied more if he would kiss and touch me. And I think that a good approach is just to find a way to say, you know what turns me on more than anything in the world? When you kiss and touch me. My God, I cannot get enough of that. And be like a little over the top when he does it, like, ooh. And then I bet you before long, you'll be like, damn, stop kissing me all the damn time. Because, ideally he'll pour it on thick. And if he doesn't, you bring it to him on some real stuff and say, hey, don't say before I was fronting. Don't say that. But just say, hey, I miss you kissing and touching me. And now I feel like you don't. And it's actually bumming me out. But only after you've tried the positive way first.
Yes. And I want to just, I wanted to put up this comment because I think this is important. I believe relationships shouldn't be on a teeter-totter when one word can make or break you. And I think if you're in a relationship like that, really, that feels like you're walking on eggshells. And I think relationships are a choice to be in. And a lot of people are in this type of relationship where they don't want to say certain things. They can't say certain things. They don't want to get the other person mad, kind of like rethink, what you're in, because I think that messes with your mental health. It messes with your life. We only have one life. And to be in a relationship where you can't speak, it just doesn't, I just don't want no parts of it. What do you think about that?
I think it's true. I think we're in a tough position because we're not really having a dialogue with the question asker. So we don't know if they're saying, if I ask this, he'll get furious and he'll threaten me or something like that. Obviously, in those cases, it's very different. We talked about DV last week or last time we talked. Mm-hmm. That's very different. I'm just assuming that they're functioning, but in a rut. They're like,
no, I mean, in general, like this statement in general, I think that a lot of people are in these type of relationships. I hear people say that, like, I can't really say certain things. I don't want them to get upset. Not in in the people that I'm thinking about. It's not in a DV way. It's more of an emotional way. Like they're going to spaz out. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I don't want to understate. I both agree with that comment, and I don't want to understate. There are certain one words that are teeter-totter. I hate your mother because she's a bitch, and I'm glad she's dead. That's one sentence that maybe should break people. Like, that was crazy. You know what I mean?
That was so crazy.
I like you so much, I want you to kiss me more. Somehow, if that blows up into a month-long argument, y'all aren't doing good. No. You know what I mean? That's different because that's positive and good faith. Mm-hmm. There are certain one words that are monstrous or certain one sentences that are monstrous. But that, really think about what a problem is. When a woman says or when a partner says, I want to see you more. That's not something to go nuts over because, like, what a compliment, right? That's something to work through versus someone who's just being malicious. So this problem is not malicious to the point where you're right, commenter. If somehow this turns into he moves out, then there's a bigger problem than kissing volume.
And I think people that kind of have those problems is usually something individually going on with them. They're being triggered by, they're just being kind of triggered. The next question says, should sexually fluid women/men notify their opposite sex partner that they've been with the same sex in the past? Is there a different standard for men versus women? And do you think it's valid? I definitely think there's a different standard.
There's whether there should be or not. I would say if you break it down morally and ethically, there's no moral justification for why there should be a different standard. In this case, I guess I have to read into this and say, if a man is bisexual, I think it tends to be a bigger deal in society than if a woman is, right? Like if a woman says, I've been with girls in the past, she can often, although not always, her partner got a pretty good chance of being interested in that or being okay with it. But somehow when men say I've been with men in the past, it's a deal. I've heard it be a deal breaker for many. I don't have the perfect number. Oftentimes I cite numbers. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I can't say that. But that's what Celeste, you agree with?
I agree with you. I just don't know. Men aren't typically comfortable with, they wouldn't be comfortable with saying that, I think.
They're oftentimes not
and I think society.
Right. They're reading the room though. They're not comfortable. It's not, everyone's going to be cool with it. They know a lot of women consider it a deal breaker, right? Women, I'm sure a lot of the women listening here, if you found out that your man was bisexual, some women are going to have had issues with it. So I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. Relationships are hard. That's the question asker. There is a double standard. I don't think there should be ethically, but I don't control other people's minds. Should people notify? I can't think of an ethical reason why that specifically is important. So it's important to get tested for diseases, no matter your gender, no matter your sex, no matter your orientation. It's important to, if it's unethical, if you're in a relationship, to be with someone else and not tell them or whatever, those are ethics. But what gender or sex that person is, I don't actually see an ethical dilemma there. Does that, like, what would be the ethical reason why when I'm 30, whatever old I am, I think anyone who would get with me would assume that I've had relationships in the past. If some of them were with men, I don't see why that is of particular note. But I bet you that answer is controversial.
Yeah. Do you think that it would make a woman feel more insecure and, not feel like they are going to be able to satisfy their partner if that's the case?
Maybe. But my only point is, I mean, God, well, so I don't want to make it about you specifically, but you are married. Did you give your husband a detailed sexual accounting of your whole history and past?
No.
That's not what we do, right? That's not, you kind of don't want to know. Like, if someone's a virgin, I want to know. If you were a porn star, I guess I do need to know. Like, literally, you did a 300-person gangbang. Okay, dog, don't walk me into that. Don't do that to me. But assuming that you've been with, some people, okay, let's not talk about it. That's kind of what we do, right? So why, if this person has been with a dude, why is that? I have to specifically tell you that?
So I wouldn't say it's an ethical or moral thing. I guess if you're done with the opposite sex, but I guess if you decide to enter into a monogamous relationship, then you're done with whoever anyway, right?
Right.
Yeah. So
I think most people, so relationships are hard, says, does that societal double standard justify to a degree a man keeping it to themselves? First of all, I want to read it too. I feel like I know what you're getting at. And I encouraged you. So this person, every time we've done this so far, this person has written in, and I love them and I'm glad they're here. I do feel like you're asking me to justify being in the closet. That's how I'm reading this. Okay. I think for oneself, this is what I really think. I think for oneself, being your true out loud self is the healthiest way to live. As long as you're in a safe, if you're 15 years old and you live with your homophobic parents or something like that, you might have to bide your time. But if you're an adult who basically doesn't want to get judged at church, I say find a new church. That's what I say. Easy for me. I'm not in this particular situation. But I think I can't imagine living in the closet is a better long-term plan.
But if you're in the closet, then and you're in a relationship with the opposite sex, wouldn't you be not just doing yourself a disservice, but doing your partner a disservice if you really desire to be with someone else?
Well, every time I've been in a relationship, I'm heterosexual, but every time I've been in a relationship, I still desire, like if I look at another woman and she looks great, I still desire other women.
Okay.
That's not really fair.
No, it is fair because a woman can't give you what a man can give you.
I don't know what it's like to be bisexual. I assume it's kind of like, once you decide to be monogamous, even if, let's say I'm going to say that this person is a male, but we don't know that. and they choose to be with a male, then it's the same thing, right? Well, what if you're going to leave me for a woman because I don't have a vagina? Do you know what I mean? Like monogamous means I'm choosing you over 8 billion people. It doesn't just mean I'm choosing your sex over the other sex. Maybe you'll be extra freaked out if your husband cheats on you with a man versus a woman, but he agreed to be with just you. So it kind of doesn't matter who he looks at. But the thing is, so I don't think you owe the other person to tell them. I think you owe it to yourself to not hide who you are. That's what I think. But I know this is hard, and I'm saying this, and you might be people are in a situation where their parents will disown them. I know. So this is not a moral judgment. I'm not saying being in the closet is immoral, because it's so challenging in this world where people are homophobic. But to have to hide who you are, I find that to be, for me, I'm maybe because of how I'm built. I'm so extroverted and out loud and who I am. I couldn't bear to have to, I forgot. I got to pretend that I had these other beliefs and thoughts. I couldn't bear it. And I might be reading that into everyone, but generally I tend to hear people who come out the closet say, I'm glad I'm out the closet. This is so much better, et cetera, et cetera. I can't think of all the people that say, you know what? Once you come out the closet, you realize the closet's better. Go back. I've literally never heard that.
Yeah.
But I do hear people say that their church kicks them out or their parents disown them, but they still say, and I'm happy to be me. That's what I hear. But I'm not gay. I'm not bisexual. There are support. You can go talk to GLAAD, but GLAAD only exists because people are out of the closet. There would be no GLAAD if there was no one to be out of the closet to have GLAAD. So I feel like that they're going to say the same thing. The closet is, when you got to wait, you got to do the work to get ready, but the closet's a bad, I think it's a tough place to live. That's what I think, person.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, whether we're talking about our sexual orientation or any other thing we're struggling with, I think when you're not able to identify it and express it, it kind of eats away at you. So, and that
I could pass. I'm black, but clearly I could pass. But if I had to go around passing all day as white and I don't know, eating a lot of mayonnaise and stuff, it'd be tough. That would be tough. I want to be me. So I could pass. I'm biracial. Yeah, there we go. I'm biracial. Right? But I gotta be who I am. I'm not judging you. Relationships are hard. This is not a moral judgment. This is me saying, I bet you your best self is out of the closet. That's a bet that I'm making. The happiest you says, you know what? I don't care who judges it. I don't perfectly know your situation, but I like boys and I like girls, and that is that. And if you don't like it, then I'm going to mess with the many people who accept that, who would invite me to Thanksgiving, right? That's where I'm going to go. That's what it seems like to me. That seems like at least the goal, not what you got to do tomorrow, but a goal, rather than writing me to ask, so shouldn't I stay in the closet? I'm not saying that. I'm not telling you that, because I don't think that's true.
This is good. A lot of great questions.
It really was.
A lot of any themes you noticed in the questions? Any overarching themes that you want to touch on before we go?
Wasn't every single one about communication? How do I change someone's mind? How do I not tell people who I actually am? How do I tell someone they're not doing what I like?
Yep. It's one of the top reasons why relationships don't work. But a lot of times we don't even know how to communicate with ourselves. We don't really know what we really want. And so to expect to be able to do that with another party is really, it's impossible to happen. If you can't even communicate your own needs with yourself, you're damn sure not going to be able to do it in a relationship.
Yeah. Listen, I don't want to, relationships are hard that person is a faithful listener, and I love that you are. I know that even though I've thought about this, that there are people in terms of gay, lesbian, LGBTQIA plus issues. There are people that are truly practicing and people that have experienced it in a way that I have not with my boring hetero cisgender life. So I please encourage you. Okay. I know there are anonymous ways to contact GLAAD or support groups, stuff like that. I know there are. And I encourage you to talk to them. I'm not saying you can talk to us next week or next time we do this. I want you to come back, but also take that one step, talk to them and see if they say, you know what? In your situation, the closet sounds better. See if they say that. Maybe I'm wrong. And you write back and say, hey, Jeff, hey, asshole, you know nothing. And I'll eat it. You could just say whatever you want. All right.
The beauty in doing that is that, when I think it's something powerful when you can talk to somebody that understands your story. I always say like AA works really well because you are seeing someone who has been sober for 20 years and you start to understand that you can do the same thing and you really get more clarity. And which is why, Jeff suggests, talking to like an agency like GLAD so that you can kind of get some kind of clear advice from someone who understands. And I think, freedom, we can be physically free, but emotionally not free. And that feels like hell, so freedom is the key. Thriving, living, and not just surviving life is important. Oh, I think Jeff froze. He definitely froze. I'm gonna see if he comes back. But this is our relationship segment. We'll be back next year. We'll be back next year in January. And we'll be talking about relationships again. He's still not on. You guys can see me, right? Oh yeah, okay. He clicked off. He's probably gonna come back on. So, we come on. Oh, here he is. Okay. Luckily, I'm a pro. I can just keep it moving.
Yeah, you're probably not that, but I'm sure it was great. And luckily,
wait, where are you? Oh, there you go. Okay.
My internet is bad. I'm sorry to all.
It's okay. I was saying we won't be back till next year, 2021.
Well, hopefully y'all can stay in y'all relationships until then. Don't break up until you talk to us.
Yeah, so we'll be back next month, next year, to talk about relationships. You can always write your questions in if you're not comfortable with adding them on. I got a couple of questions in that I just kind of put on to the stream. Or you can be here live and answer it or ask it live, whatever you choose. And also, I want Jeff to tell you all about Hella Black Trivia.
Can you hear me? Am I choppy?
No, I can hear you perfectly fine.
Okay. Hella Black Trivia. So I'm both an executive coach and facilitator. You can have me come out to your business or work with you one-on-one on various issues. But I also host Hella Black Trivia, a little side thing that we do. Basically, we call it Trivia with Seasoning. You can come to Hella Black Trivia by going to our website and find out when we're doing it, or you can have us come out to your business as well. Basically, you want Jeff to come to your house through Zoom, I will do it. Don't matter how you need me. Trivia, advice, fashion tips, I got you.
Oh, right. So with the whole, I'm trying to get this off now. With the whole Zoom world, you have been hosting Hella Black Trivia on Zoom, right?
That's right. I just got off doing one, right? Like literally, the reason why this had to be 8:30 tonight is because I was hosting one today from 7 to 8:30.
For like an event somebody hired you for?
Yeah, for a corporate event. Corporations are doing like, black nights and stuff like that for holidays and for Black History Month coming up. So if y'all want Jeff in your house for Black History Month, ask you trivia questions, we can do that.
Nice. That's pretty dope. And then so you do that, and then you said you also coach. You said you deal with so many different types of people with different things. Tell people a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I'm an executive coach and I'm a facilitator. So I oftentimes come out to companies that are either working on their issues, like oftentimes diversity, equity, inclusion, or oftentimes organizational alignment, bunch of stuff. But basically, that guy that comes out and tries to get your team to work together better, or to help an individual get on the ball more. We just try to make it happen. There's a method, but I won't get into it all now. All that really matters is you want Jeff will appear.
We got to talk about that method next time. I think we were supposed to talk about that this time. I just thought about it. That's pretty cool. I can totally see how you're able to help people like kind of work through solutions because your analogies, somebody in the comments said your analogies are so good. Your analogies are really good. And it really makes you shift it a little, your thought process and think a little bit deeper. I think we have a lot of ingrained thoughts that are due to society, our culture, our upbringing, all of it. And so we feel like we're stuck in a problem, but I don't think we're stuck. I think that there are solutions, but we just struggle with trying to figure it out. So that's where you come in and kind of help people with that process.
I couldn't have said it better myself, so I won't. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. We will see you next year. Yeah, solution focused method. That's what he said. Yeah. Dang, you got a good memory.
Look at that. All right, you're hired too.
Damn, relationships are hard. You were so right. He totally said that. Oh my God, that's what he said. You really be listening. I don't even know who you are, but thank you for rocking out with me.
Oh my God. The shortest summary I can use a solution focused method, real quick, because it's you, relationships are hard. Instead of, but maybe you can apply it. So let's take your issue. Instead of trying to work through all the various complications of LGBTQIA plus issues and relationship issues and trying to study it and figure it out, instead, let's ask one question. Are you perfectly happy with where you are now? I'm going to answer for you and say no, because you religiously listen to this show. I know you are not completely happy with this. So the question is, just be solution focused. What are you willing to try? Right? That's the basic thing you have to ask. What are you willing to try? And then you try that. Okay. You just focus on the solution. We know there's a way to get to, and we can do the miracle question. Remind me, you can call in and remind me about the miracle question. But let's just say right now, we know that your goal is to be happy and fulfilled and self-actualized. We know that. Okay. So, and right now you are not completely that way. I probably couldn't be convinced that you are completely happy, fulfilled, and self-actualized. Not currently. So the question is, what are you willing to try? Are you willing to, and then we would work on, okay, are you willing to come out to your friends and family starting tomorrow? Almost certainly not. And that's okay. That's a huge step. Are you willing to think of one person who you think would hold your confidence and accept you and come out to them? Are you willing to, no, that might be too far. Okay. Are you willing to contact GLAAD and see if they have a support group for people that are still in the closet, to see if they do? You're not joining the support group. You're just seeing if they have that. That's all you would do. And then if you did, I'd say, okay, that's your assignment. When can you do it by? I can do it by next week. Okay. By next week, report back and let me know. So relationships are hard. I'm going to give you some free coaching. That's your job. The next time you call in, the next time we do this, you will tell me whether GLAAD has a support group. If you have found that out, you have succeeded. And if you do not find that out, then you have not succeeded at your task. And I'm going to hold you to it. Your job is to find out if GLAAD has a support group. That is it. You don't have to do anything else. If you do that, you should be proud. Can you do that? You've answered yes, whether you type it or not.
It feels a little bit like exposure therapy, giving them a little at a time. That's pretty dope. I like it. And I think sometimes the actual thing that we want to see happen feels so far away, and we miss all the steps that are in between. And so then when we start to take those steps, we can actually start to celebrate those moments and not feel unfulfilled because we're not up here. That's super dope.
So I think you understand it very well. I think
I'm all about solutions. You know how I do.
That's why we had such a great team. I'm so happy to be on this and be a part of this, and to have met all the commenters through comments. Relationships are hard.
One day we'll meet them in person.
One day we will. Although relationships are hard, will show up in the Phantom of the Opera mask. But other than that, we will meet in person. But if you do, we'll hold you down, because that's okay. Okay, but your job, relationships are hard. You're going to find out if there's a support group for people that are currently in the closet.
Yeah.
Only job.
Yes. I like it. I love it. Thank you, my dear. You know how I love you, and I appreciate you for rocking out with me and holding me down.
Thank you. The pleasure is all mine.
All right, bye. You're not gonna do your You're not gonna like wave us off.
I'm not gonna do what?
Wave us off, like do the little wave, do like that, like you always do.
I might be
You do it?
frozen.
Oh, you are frozen. All right, bye.
Right.
So that was a wrap. We'll be back next week, Monday, talking to somebody else. So we'll be back Mondays and Thursdays. You can find me if you're listening to me on YouTube. Make sure you like, subscribe. Facebook, make sure you share, like. Thank you for following me. Thank you for listening. And I will see you guys on Monday. Bye.
Smile, every hug, every kiss, every touch, every person in my life that I care about and love. But wait, maybe I'm getting too emotional. That's exactly what they say you ain't supposed to do. Suppress your feelings, never talk about your pain. Can't appreciate the sun without acknowledging it rains, right? That's right. So this a moment of clarity. And make sure you always protect your energy. You stay focused and your life gon' be lit. And you are now rocking with Celeste, the therapist. Let's go.